Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another Mattel Jurassic World review, and we don't just have one figure this time, we actually have a few because we have the newest round of minis from Mattel, and these are in fact the first round of minis, as you can see, Series 1, from the Epic Evolution line. Now, I've been looking for these for quite a few weeks. Unfortunately, I could not find them, so lucky for me, my good friend Plush Boy Q had recently contacted me. He knew I was looking for them. He asked me if I wanted him to grab me a set, and I said absolutely, I really wanted them, so a massive thank you, as always, goes out to Plush Boy Q for helping me to get a hold of these. But you can see the box art is pretty nice. You can also see that we've only got 2 boxes here, and that is because there are only 4 new figures. So we have a look up here at the top as far as what is included in this wave, and although there are some really neat looking figures in this wave and some really cool ones overall, most of them are repeats, most of them are repacks of previous waves, so nothing super new or impressive or crazy outside of 2 blocks, which we have right here. So we will at least be able to figure out what numbers are associated with these. So first of all, you can see the number right there, and this is the number you would want to look for if you're going to find this set. So we'll see who is included in this one. I'm not too sure who's in here, but there we go. We can now see we've got ourselves the Geosternbergia and the Indoraptor in this pack. And you also have the little slip, of course, that first of all has the Epic Evolution logo right there. But then as you turn it around, you basically have like a little checklist to show you what all is included in this round of minis. We have awesome ones like the Majungasaurus and Kentrosaurus returning, as well as the Oranosaurus, and of course, you know, Dimetrodon, Yanxuanosaurus. We've got a whole bunch of species, but of course, specifically to this round of new minis, we have the Indoraptor and Geosternbergia, and then the Kaprosuchus and Sinotyrannus, which means that that's who we will have in this box. So that is the number on the underside again for this box to let you know exactly who you should look for, or what number you should look for to acquire these figures. And of course, we're just going to pop the box open, and there you go. There's the other half of the new minifigures. So we'll pop them out really quickly. We'll just set them down here for right now. Definitely some really nice, very exciting species in this group. Again, the Indoraptor as well as the Geosternbergia. And that will do it for these ones as far as what new ones we have. I will say the Sinotyrannus actually looks fantastic. That is definitely a really nice looking mini. And the Kaprosuchus is also really nice. I definitely am going to have to get some new minis soon to repaint, because I've wanted to repaint some for quite a while. So, you know, with really nice looking figures like this, I don't think I'll be able to help myself. Specifically, these 2 I really want to repaint, so I'll have to wait until they do eventually show up here and get myself another round of that set. Convenient that those 2 are both in the same set. But anyway, I'm really quite excited to take a closer look at these 4, so let's jump to it right now. So straight out of the gate, again, we've got the Kaprosuchus, and you can see the Kaprosuchus does look really good. First of all, it's a very cool species, one that I'm really happy to see in the Mattel line in general, as we did recently have a larger version, but it's also super cool to see it now in minifigure form. And the coloration on this one differs quite a bit from the larger version. A lot of the times when you get the minis, they usually kind of try to keep at least somewhat of a similar coloration to the figures, but this time it's actually really quite different. As you can see for the mini, we have a greenish body, and then you've got some blues up here that actually start on the top of the head and then kind of design through the course of the body all the way out onto the tail. There is a little area out here, it kind of stops right there, so the rest of the tail is only the greenish coloration. We don't have any other color outside of that. It doesn't look like we have painted eyes or anything, and the teeth are obviously not painted, but it is a really nice looking sculpt. You can see the detail is very, very vibrant. Like, it looks great when it comes to how nice it looks on the sculpt, and the overall appearance is really good. The teeth aren't quite as large as we see on the, you know, larger version, so I also like that. Another reason why I think that this one would be a pretty fun repaint, to actually get those teeth, you know, painted out and look to see how nice they look. But Overall, I think it nicely replicates the larger version and looks similar enough as far as the sculpt goes, maybe even a little bit more improved than the larger version, but it is a little less appealing when it comes to the coloration and color scheme. Then we have the Sinotyrannus, and this honestly might be one of Mattel's best minifigures that they've produced, like, period. Well, or at least when it comes to the transition to these smaller versions, once they hit the Jurassic World Dominion line, they kind of altered the minis, made them smaller and more of a kind of softer rubber. I feel like this might be one of the best ones that they've produced yet, because not only is the sculpt absolutely incredible, it really is a very nice looking minifigure, but the paintwork is also pretty nice, and a lot of these minis have had kind of lazy, lackluster paint apps for the most part, whereas this one actually is a decent bit of color. Not a lot, but more than most do. As you can see, we have a dark green for the primary body color. You've also got a red up there in the crest of the Sinotyrannus that kind of runs down through the eye and then leads down in a stripe type fashion down through the course of the neck. You can also see we have a lighter shade of green that picks up there in the neck and kind of runs down until we reach around the shoulder area and then disappears. And then we also have a little bit more of that red out there on the tail. And of course, on top of that, we actually have painted eyes, which is something we don't often get in the minis. It is just a yellow coloration, no pupil or anything, but it looks pretty good actually. And again, it's more paintwork than we often get for minifigures. The mouth is sculpted in an open position, and you can see the teeth and tongue and everything in there. Looks really nice. I think the teeth could have looked pretty darn good with some paintwork on them, but they still don't look bad. And again, the actual fine detail is so crisp on this. There is just so much to it as well. There's so many different variations to scale detail. You've got ridges moving along the back, osteoderms popping up all over the place. Of course, we've got the larger feet, but that's something that's super common for the Mattel figures. But honestly, that is definitely one of the nicest minis that I have seen come from Mattel overall. And again, with detail this nice, like I said earlier, I would love to give this one a repaint. So once I do spot this in store, I will absolutely be picking up another one and then again hitting it with the repaint treatment. We've also got the Indoraptor. Now the Indoraptor does look to be the same sculpt as the older one. It doesn't look like they've updated it or anything as far as I can tell. But what is different about this one compared to the older one is this, I believe, is the first time we've had this species in this smaller version. I don't think we've had this figure or species show up in the Mattel minifigure line since the transition to these smaller ones, and that's pretty cool, of course, to have it now in this line as well in the smaller size. The paintwork isn't really anything super amazing, as we just basically have a black, then we've got that yellow that leads down along the course of the body. It does run pretty far out, and of course there's not a whole lot of coloration in general to the Indoraptor, so for the most part we've captured the likeness pretty decently when it comes to what you would expect for a toy form. You can see we do also have red eyes, which is nice, and again, just like with the Sinotyrannus, I think the detail pops very nicely on the figure and would honestly not be a bad one to repaint as well if I haven't already done it in the past, which I did repaint this again in the larger version at one point, but who knows, maybe I'll grab another round of this one as well to repaint. But regardless, you can see the teeth sculpted out. Of course, the mouth is open. Everything looks really nice on this one, but it is a sculpt we have gone over in the past again, since it is the same one as we previously had, just now shrunken down and obviously a lot more flexible with the new material. And then we've got the Geosternbergia, and this one as well looks really cool. It also looks pretty much just like the Hammond Collection version, but obviously in a much smaller size. This one also has decent paintwork, so it seems like the Epic Evolution line as a whole has been a massive improvement when it comes to Mattel's paint for most of the figures, because a lot of the figures from the main line I feel like had better paint apps than we're used to seeing, and the minis now as well. You can see we have a yellowish tone for the beak, yellow for the crest as well. Obviously the mouth is open as the pterosaur's flying along. Looks like maybe it's swooping down to grab itself a fish. We also have a blue right there starting in the face, running along the back, and then of course we again have more of those yellowish tones, like yellowish browns for the body color here of the wings and everything. And then you also have a lighter tone for the underbelly of the pterosaur. Sculpt wise, it looks really nice. It actually might be one of the nicest interpretations that Mattel has released of the Geosternbergia, also nicely replicating again, the concept art for the version we should have seen in the Lost World Jurassic Park. It doesn't necessarily have eye paint, I would say. It looks like the eye paint is just the coloration of that yellowish brown that we have for the body color, but it kind of gives it the look of having eye paint. So again, definitely a really nice figure, and sculpt wise, it's, again, with the lack of like articulated joints and stuff, it's pretty darn nice. Definitely better than the, I think it was like the Legacy Collection version potentially they had released, and then they of course also have the Hammond Collection version. But I think it's just really beautiful overall, and maybe one of, if not their best pterosaurs they've produced in the minis. I don't think we need to go over the figures any further than what we already have as far as like sizes or comparisons or anything like that. I don't think they're needed because they're the same size as all the other minis, and we've been going over these minis in a big way since Jurassic World Dominion, as they had released a mountain of minis during that little Jurassic World Dominion run. So no need to really do comparisons or sizes or anything, but obviously they fit right there in the same size as all of the minis that have pretty much come before this, you know, again, starting with Jurassic World Dominion. So another round, another wave of minis, and another group where we only get 4 new figures. Unfortunately, it seems as though Mattel isn't quite following the trend that they used to, where every wave would be like a, you know, group of all new figures. Sometimes you'd get a couple repeats, but for the most part nowadays it seems as though the new figures are a lot less frequent than the repeats, because you usually get just like 2 boxes of new minis and the rest are all just repacks from previous waves, which is unfortunate. I would love to see them produce more minis because I think they're great, and there's just so many species Mattel produces that they could definitely, again, hammer out so many minis with those other figures, but they just for some reason don't. Regardless, we do have some, again, really cool ones here with the Kaprosuchus, the Sinotyrannus, the Geosternbergia, and the Indoraptor. So some very cool species, as well as quite a bit of variation here to the different figures we've got this time around, so that's really fun as well. The Indoraptor, of course, is a fan favorite of many, especially if you are into hybrids. If you're a fan of the Lost World Jurassic Park, you're going to, of course, absolutely love the Geosternbergia, because that is as classic, I would say, as it gets. The Sinotyrannus is just generally a really cool looking figure with some of the nicest paint we've seen on the minis so far, and the Kaprosuchus, I would say, honestly looks even better than the mainline version because the teeth are a little bit better looking. It definitely could have used a more interesting paint application and paint scheme, because that's not really that great, but the sculpt I think actually looks a little bit better than the mainline version. So again, as a whole, 4 new really cool figures, 4 figures that in my opinion are absolutely worth picking up, and hopefully some of which I'll be able to get a second time at some point in the near future so I can repaint some. So if you are interested, make sure you head to your local Walmart, and if they are not there yet, they should be soon, as these are starting to kind of trickle out everywhere. Pick them up again, use the codes that we had seen on the undersides of the boxes earlier to establish exactly which ones you are looking at, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.